welcome back. Should you join the military? Are you thinking about joining the military? Any branch, whatever branch. Are you concerned? Are your friends feeding you stuff that they think goes on in the military? Do you need some extra advice? Well, luckily, me and Hayden are gonna be telling you our experiences, our pros and cons, and things we think will benefit you in that decision. Hayden,
Couldn't have said it better. I like that.
he, I'm
He's
him.
him.
I'm him. It's hard being Himothy, but I hold my.
First off, everybody's military experience is going to be different.
Mhm.
It depends on your job, the time that you join, because there's wartime and there's peacetime. Right now, we're definitely in a peacetime. Even though everything's going on with like Ukraine, Russia, China, and all that stuff, we're still in a peacetime. So our experience is going to be my experience, his experience is going to be completely different, and we joined relatively at the same time. But then my experience with somebody that's still in right now, or somebody that was in 10 years ago, is going to be completely different. So this is more of how relative it was to us. So I'm not saying that what our experience was is going to be the same experience that you would have, or somebody that that's in, or even so like as people that have already been in the military that could be watching this and being like, oh, these guys know what the fuck they're talking about. It's like, well, I mean,
We do.
we do know what we're talking about. It's just the fact that you did something different and
Exactly.
we did something different. So
Exactly. Yeah. Everybody's experience is different, so it's kind of difficult. If you're someone who is potentially looking to join the military, it can be difficult asking the right people, right? Because depending on the experiences, if somebody had a bad experience, they're gonna tell you no, and then you're kind of there like, why not? And based off of their experience, they'll tell you something that didn't go as they expected it. Or if they had a good experience, then they'll tell you something or millions of things of why you should join.
and then you join, and then it's going to be completely way off of what they told you.
Yeah, 100%.
You're going to be looking forward to things that aren't going to happen to you, and then the things that do happen to you, they didn't have happen to them either. So it goes both ways. So
Exactly.
just a kind of like quick
Discretion.
Yeah, discretion is perfect.
Yeah.
Because again, it's all relative to it can go as far as like somebody in the same exact unit in the same platoon will have a different experience than you will.
And to put it in terms of those who have not joined yet, right? Basically, a coworker that you work with side by side that potentially holds the exact same role you hold. When you join the military, if it happens to be like so, the person beside you that holds the exact same role, that is within the exact same environment, right, or office, whatever you want to call it, can have a completely different experience. And so going right into it, at least for me, right, I think, I would like to say I know that your experience is going to be determined based off 50% how you are as a person, and then 50% the environment that you're in the military. There's only so much you can control, but how you react to it as a person is what either makes those situations a little more alleviated or not, right? I think from my experience, right, I've been in situations in the military where I'm like, man, why did I join? Like, this thing sucks, and my resiliency, and even if you don't have any, you'll build some, because they don't want you to fail. Any military branch, I have friends and family in different branches. The military doesn't want you to fail. They kind of make it a little hard to, but if you just don't have that will, if you just don't have that resiliency, if you really don't, like zero, you'll fail. They'll let you go home. They'll help you go home. But it's kind of hard, to be honest, in my opinion.
One of the biggest things, side note real quick, that people don't even realize about the military is, one, it's not like anything in the movies. There are some movies that do resemble a little bit, but those are the very extreme movies like Black Hawk Down, Lone Survivor, Chris Kyle, stuff like
The
that.
Hornet's Nest, all that good
Yeah,
stuff.
it's all that's very extreme. So when you go into the actual army, like it's all about numbers. So you'll see people that are unfit, that can't do push-ups, that can't run, that are overweight, all these kind of things, and they can stay in the military because at the end of the day, the military is all about numbers. This high-ranking system or these high-profile guys that everybody thinks of when you think of the military is actually less common than you think. It's the literal 1% of the 1%, right?
Yeah.
Because there's what is it, like 1% of the of the United States population is in the military, and then you got to think of that 1% is the 1% of like the elite guys that actually know how to shoot, know how to fight, know how to like kick down doors. Like those are the guys that I think the entire civilians, they think that's how the entire military is, and it's like.
It's not.
I'm not even that guy.
Yeah.
Like I'm a normal civilian that went to the military, that had some courtesies, customs, and responsibilities, and like you said, the resiliency and all those things like tested and pushed, and the discipline and stuff like that. Like that's all it really does. Is it's more of a teacher for the normal military personnel.
Right.
And then you get that 1% that is that crazy. People that you're like, wow, like those guys are them.
Yeah, they're just like the movies.
Yeah.
I think it's important to note too, like if at least for this generation or those of you that are in this generation trying to join the military, those movies that he's talking about, right? Most of those movies were based off of a different time, a different era, and yeah, at that time you could closely relate to what you were seeing, but nowadays not so much. And if you're like wanting that, oh man, that ultra action, the Expendables kind of action, you're not gonna see it and you're not gonna get it. Like, you may do stuff as dumb as like going down to Mexico and putting barbed wire on borders, right? And you're gonna be like, wow, like this is not what I was expecting. But it's just the time. This is just the time that we're in right now, and military needs are not how they used to be. But I mean, if you war is what you want. If you want to be like the dudes in the movies, if things go bad enough, you may just get it. But
I think that kind of goes back to the 50-50. Like it's 50% up to you, and then 50% up to your environment. Because at the same time, it goes up to your chain of command, really, of how you're going to be doing missions and what your mission set is. And I mean that even goes into like your unit, what unit you're in, and that's even basic army. Like what is it, like I guess garrison is like civilian army, but or not civilian army, but
like in the States.
Yeah, in the States, and. They could either make your life terrible by making you all you're doing is training, and Fort Hood's famous saying is like train to train.
Yeah.
So all you're doing is just training, and you're not even doing real missions that you would actually simulate because there's so many restrictions on your training. So that way, the day that you do actually have to do that mission, you're kind of that's like. Your training is while you're actually doing the mission, because the training to train, you have such a limitations of what you can do. So I think it all depends on your environment of your chain of command as well. And also just to point out, like if you are war hungry, it's kind of disappointing. It's like, dude, because it's like you really don't want that. I think that's just like ego, pride kind of thing. Because at the end of the day, I'll keep it short because I'm a very conspiracy theorist kind of guy.
Here we go.
But I don't know. Like it's really hard because you also got to think of who you're fighting for. And at this time, that I just view it as if we went to World War III. I don't know how I could sit back and watch everybody else go to war while I'm perfectly fine. So like I've always thought, and when you join the military, you'll realize that like this camaraderie that you have between your boys is just like it's unbreakable, and you have this level of friendship and camaraderie, right? That you've had friends for 15, 20 years, and these guys that you've known for 3 to 5 years are way closer than any of your friends back home. Y'all joke differently, y'all talk differently, y'all feel differently about each other.
That's facts.
Like all these things, and to be here in the States while they're at war, like that like crushes my heart to even think about, because it's like I would never want a phone call saying like somebody to make it home, because immediately you're kind of thinking like, what if I was there and I could have helped out, that kind of thing. So I think a lot of people don't even think about like little things like that. Like, could you even imagine your best friend dying? Could you imagine like, just you're taking a life, and it really upsets me, because again, like what I was saying about the conspiracy is like, I don't trust Joe Biden enough to go to war for him.
Yeah.
And then do I trust taking somebody's life that I don't truly know what their intentions were? Because at the end of the day, it's like, let's put it into perspective. If you're in the United States and a random country, I'm not going to even specify a country, a random country just comes in and invades, and you're part of the military or even part of the people, like, would you not fight for your land?
Yeah.
Like, would you not fight for your life? Like, I don't know. That's kind of like what I think about. And if you think about us going into Iraq or Afghanistan or anything like that, and look, I'm not saying that anybody that did go there didn't deserve to be there, or they don't deserve the respect. I respect everybody that's been in war and combat and everything like that. Like, I don't take that away from you. But what I do kind of feel towards people that like want to urge towards war, it's like sometimes we don't even ask our enemies what their problem is, or like what our problem with the enemy is, or what their problem with us is. All we do is trust the news
at a large scale too.
Yeah, at a large scale, at a very large scale.
Because obviously we can't. If we go get deployed, like, hey, why are we fighting?
Yeah, you can't do that, definitely. I mean, but anyway, and so I don't want to talk about conspiracies, but I'm just, when it goes to like the people that are like war hungry and all those things, I mean, I think that's just kind of like a mental. I get it. Like, you're a young man and you're just like, you're eager. You want to like show, like throw out that testosterone and see who's about it. But I'm like, there's a lot of people that say that they're about it and they get put in that situation. And I've personally seen people that have been put not, and this is what's crazy. It's not even in combat. It's not even in combat. Like, we'll be doing a specific training that's supposed to simulate the stress of combat and the hardships of it, right?
Yeah.
But it's the mental like destruction
capacity.
They try to destroy your mentality, your mental ability to process things.
Yeah.
So that way, when it does get broken, they can teach you how to be able to handle that stress and work under that stress. Yeah. And there's people that have been there. Sorry, real quick, last one. There's people that have been in that situation with me in a training, and they'll crack and they'll go home. But the entire time they were talking about how they could do this. They could do
so
it.
Bad.
Yeah, and
don't be one of those guys, right? No matter how old you are and you're about to join the military, that I would never join, because I would never let a drill sergeant talk to me like that. Oh boy, sure, and then go, right? And like, to add to your point too, I like what you said, because I think the like, oh, I wanted that bad, I'm more hungry. I think it's a gradual thing that happens, right? With like training in the military, with joint rotations or small missions, or like what some people call deployments, but really it's just like, training missions out of the States. If you're about it, go through the small things first in the military. Like basic training would be your first one. If you're that about it, then you'll get through that. If you can't get through that,
even go to MEPS.
Yeah, if you're scared at MEPS, if you don't even get through basic training, then you're really not about it.
If, for those that don't know, MEPS is basically after you sign your contract of what your job is going to be, then you go to this facility, this processing.
In processing station.
Yeah, it's like you're still at home. You're still in your home city. You're going to a building that has a bunch of tests, like physical test, like an actual physical, like an exam, where you're going to a doctor to make sure you're healthy, like that kind of physical.
Real quick, actually, you should for those of you that are trying to join, you should walk them through like what happens when you choose your MOS. Your recruiter locks you in.
Okay. First step is don't fucking do it. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, don't do it if you want a better life, if you want to succeed, if you want to earn, learn discipline and things like that. But no, so basically when you go to MEPS, so first off, you go to the recruiter. and you talk to a recruiter, and at that point they're probably going to talk to you and just kind of BS you a little bit, and then show you the fancy jobs, like the cool jobs. The people think that 11 Bravo is cool because it's that mindset of like, oh, you're going to do some cool shit.
It was infantry.
Infantry, yeah, sorry. And or maybe even like for me, like I did a Black Hawk crew chief. That's even what the guy that my recruiter was. And he was telling me all these things, and I also knew somebody else that was a crew chief. Whatever. So the first step is to kind of go in and just familiarize yourself with the recruiter. Second step would go to MEPS to take your ASVAB, which is basically a test.
Yeah.
I think it's like, how many scores? Like 6 or 10?
I think it is around 10.
It's 10 different sections that you're taking, and it's like electronics. It's basically a wide variety of knowledge.
Of different skills, your knowledge skills.
Yeah.
And touching on the MOS, which is like your job, real quick, that I would like to add personally is when you're going to join the military, right? You're going to be in this profession for X amount of time. Minimum, if you're going active duty, it's going to be at least 4 years. So it behoove you to, kind of get familiarized with the different kind of MOSs. I mean, there's only so much, there's probably like maybe 80, maybe less than that, to be honest. Familiarize yourself, right? Is it an MOS? Is it a job that you can capitalize on when you get out of the military, right? Can you use that on your resume, and transition into another job similar to it? I'm not saying, if you can't find one like that, don't do it, or I'm not saying like completely avoid being an infantryman, being on the front line because you're one hungry. I'm not saying that, but it's always best if you get something that you can easily transition out of. If you do go into a strict combat role, then plan to go to school and to set yourself up for success. If you decide, and most of the time a lot of them decide not to stay in 20 years and retire, but yeah, that's just my input on the MLS. But
and to keep on that same track just a little bit, and trust me, we're not like ragging on anybody that wants to go infantry or special forces or any kind of ground pound guy, that job. But what people don't even realize at the same time is the physical and mental strain it puts on your body. Dude, you're going to be, if you joined at 18, by the time you're 20 years old, you're going to be your back's hurt, your back hurts, your knees hurt. And it's not like, it's really annoying is because in the civilian world, it's like, oh, my back hurts, my knee hurts. And it's, when you're rucking 12 to 20 miles a day with 80 pounds on your back, and then you're, I don't know, like just doing, we call it dumb shit.
Yeah.
Because it's all just training to train, because that's what your job is to do, is just to be an infantryman. So you don't even think about how much how much stress it puts on your body before you're even 25 years old and you're ready to get out, and you're gonna be so like beat up,
broken down
mentally, physically, and everything like that. And by that time you're ready to get out, and then by that time you're ready to get out, you're like, oh, I don't know, my only skill set is to hard charge into gunfire. And it's what job, and then the famous, I'm gonna go government contracting or civilian contracting, whatever, and tell me where. Oh, like, okay, you can say Blackwater, but who do you actually know is from Blackwater? Where do you actually get in contact with them? Little things like that. So I think it's also like a little facade of this is what I want to do, and this is how I'm going to do it, and just because it's you want to talk about something's cool, you want to talk about being cool.
That's true.
It's those are the same people that want to talk about it, but they don't do anything about it. They don't
want to be about it.
Yeah,
so all they do. They talk, but they never walk the walk.
So, anyways, once you get done with your ASVAB, which is that test, it tells you a certain score. So that way, when you go back to the recruiter, it'll align you with X amount of jobs that fit inside of that score that you have, and then that's kind of when you pick your job. And every branch is a little different. Like I know the Air Force is you pick 3, and then they pick out of the 3 1 for you. And I think the Marines just straight up picks for you for the most part.
Yeah.
And then the Army was pretty like, as long as it's in your score and they have the right amount of numbers slotted to be able to get in that MOS, then they'll send you to it. You might have to wait a little bit, but.
And what that means, just real quick, is like Army needs. If the Army doesn't need another infantryman or 100 more, then you're probably not going to get it. So it's like it's really important for you to have at least, to be honest, in my opinion, like have at least 5 MOSs picked that you really like, because most of the time, your recruiter may not tell you like you're kind of dumb. You know, you got a low score on your exam on your SVAB.
All my fuelers out there.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
I'm just kidding.
And you're like, man, I'm gonna be a cyber security operations specialist, and then when you pull up, they're like, yo, never mind, like it's not available to you because you scored really low, and now you're looking at being a cook, a fueler, you know,
I mean, and
something
y'all,
like that.
y'all good people, and the Army needs them.
And we love them.
We're not necessarily talking down.
But I'm just saying,
But I'm telling you,
have some choices, right?
Yeah.
Have some choices, right? Just in case. Because going from cybersecurity to working in the kitchens, it's big. It's huge. It's a huge flip.
Yeah.
Flip.
And that's like right at the end is kind of what we started with is you want to choose your job wisely, because that's what you're going to be doing for 4 to 5, 6 years maybe, or even more.
For the rest, 20 years.
Yeah. You can change your MOS too, but that's another topic that's irrelevant at this point, because you got to choose the one to get in first. And you're gonna learn all the steps of that job first before you even have the possibility or chance to change it. So after you get your MOS selected, so you get all the way up to that point, you're gonna select a ship date or whatever it's called, and that's when you're gonna go to basic training. And so basically, what's gonna happen is after you set this date, it's on this date that you go to like a random hotel that they have aligned for you to stay at, which is. There's multiple people that are going to be at that hotel. It's not like a random hotel.
Yeah.
It's like a designated hotel. And then you're going to stay there. Then they'll have like a report and everything like that. Like that's kind of like your in-processing portion. Yeah. Make sure you have all your paperwork, everything that you need. Then you get on the bus. The bus will take you to the airport. And then basic check-in through the airport with this certain group of people that you're with.
Right.
Then you just go to wherever your basic training's at.
Depending what you're doing. So like if your basic training or is close, you'll probably take a bus drive completely. If it's far out of state or something farther than like a city far away from yours, then you'll have the bus drop you off at an airport, and then depending on your MOS, right, you'll be going to OSA if you're in like a combat job, or you'll be going to basic training. And then I believe OSA is like combined, right? Their AIT and their basic training is combined. So like most combat roles have combined basic training and advanced individual training, which is like college for your MOS, for your job. So yeah, those are things to think about, or just some good things to know as you're kind of choosing. And like he was saying, right, it'll either be a bus or an airport that you'll be going to, shipping to your basic training. And that's gonna be your first legitimate physical and mental test. Basic training. What can you expect? What did you go through? What was your basic training? What did y'all get?
It was pretty. So first off, I was at Fort Jackson. The nickname is Relaxing Jackson. I didn't go to any other basic training, but I don't know if it's specific to your drill sergeants. I think it's specific to your drill sergeants. How serious are they willing to take it? Because we had a set of drill sergeants that were really chill. It was more of instructing and teaching you how to do certain things, and then we had other drill sergeants that just came in and just wanted to freaking destroy you.
Yeah.
And I would say my experience was pretty. It was 50-50. I would say probably one of the hardest things is the lack of sleep that you first get going there. Dude, I think in processing was just as bad, if not. I would say the only reason why it's worse than basic training in processing is because you have zero sleep and you have like 5 days to get. I don't know how much. Like you're doing labs, you're doing like dentist stuff, you're doing like all these health checks, but like super in depth health checks.
Yeah.
And you got to think the entire time you're with the drill sergeant just yelling at you. You're going to the defect for the first time, and you're just like, "I'm just going to get food," and they're like screaming at you to put your heels together.
Yeah.
Like stupid, very stupid like little things.
And the sleep deprivation is real, and it only happens because you're gonna be on a completely different time frame that you're usually used to, right? You think waking up at 6 a.m. is early? for like work or something, like they're gonna be waking you up at 3 in the morning,
Yeah.
maybe earlier, and you're not gonna be used to it. You know, it's gonna be rocking you for the first like few weeks, months.
Yeah, and the
And
entire time, and it also depends what time you go. It depends how you are as a person as well. Because I went during the cold. All my trainings, like all my trainings and extra trainings, have all been in the cold. So now I kind of like training in the cold.
yeah, yeah,
Because when it's hot outside, oh dude,
yeah.
that is so
It
brutal.
does suck. Yeah, I had a
But
little bit of both. I had a little bit of both
yeah, which one was better?
because uh, I think the winter was cool. Well, see, like so, my advanced individual training was in Oklahoma, and Oklahoma's flat, so it's windy cold, you know, and that wind sucks. If it
Yeah,
was like Colorado, I was stationed in Colorado at one point, and over there was nice, right? Because it was cold, but it wasn't like windy cold. It's just like snow and
yeah,
cold. Because I joined August time frame, and so I was there from August to September, October. Yeah, August to October. Because basic training is 4 months, by the way. Right? It's 4 months. Right about three and a half, 4 months, something like that. Unless it's different now. And then your advanced individual training is another 4 months.
I don't think it's 4 months. I think it's like 10 to 12 weeks.
Weeks.
I think it's like 10 weeks.
It's like 3 months.
Yeah, something like that. I don't even know.
It's like three or 4 months.
Yeah,
Just
it's not as long as it sounds though. It definitely is not as long as it sounds.
And quick side note, just now that I remembered, it is a possibility that when you get to your advanced individual training, that you are slotted in a role or in a position called hold under. And what that means, right, is these are advanced individual training. The way it goes is based off of cycles, right? They take the first 20 incoming soldiers that just graduated from basic training, and then they'll run them through this college, if you will. If there's a group of 25, they'll take the first 20, and then the rest of the 5 have to wait till another few graduate, and then you'll be in a cycle. So it is, it could take longer than 4 months because you're waiting to get classed.
Yeah.
So that's just something to keep in mind. Graduate early or something. I don't know. Graduating a batch of 20 guys with the same MOS. But yeah, like he was saying, the rucking is gonna suck. They're gonna wake you up. You're gonna be running the most you've ever ran in your life. You're probably gonna be doing the most exercise you've ever done in your life. The responsibilities that you're gonna have, they either break you or make you. The food's not gonna be your common food, and also the pace at how you eat your food. This is a different one. Sometimes you'll get to sit down and look at your food, and then it's time to get back up and go. Sometimes you actually get down, sit down, get to look at your food and touch the food, and probably not eat it, but then leave again. And some days you'll get an opportunity to eat your food for sure. But don't think about getting like Coca-Cola or Sprite or anything. You'll be drinking a lot of water and like cheap Gatorade.
Oh, dude, I can't remember. Somebody was telling me a story about getting chocolate milk.
Every day. Yeah, or chocolate milk, for real.
Was that you that was telling me a story about chocolate milk? Or
I don't know,
I think
probably.
it might have been, I think it was one of some of like my Marine friends.
Oh,
And there's drill instructors. The drill instructors was like, "Oh, you think you're good enough to get chocolate milk
Oh,
now?"
yeah.
So they made him sit there and chug chocolate milk, and they're like, "You get more." Made him keep going and they're like, "You better not throw up in my
Stay.
dining facility,
Yeah.
whatever." And kept going
That's
until
funny.
he was like, "I can't drink anymore." And they're like, "I think you got more," and kept going. And then it got to the point to where they're like, he had to drink like a gallon of chocolate milk. And then took him outside
and he started
and then
running.
started doing PT with him
Yeah.
until he started throwing it all up. And so it's just,
That sucks.
yeah, it's definitely like, it's just, they're just there to mess with you.
Yeah.
What is the saying? It's like the funniest place that you'll go to that you're not allowed to laugh.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and it sucks when it's you, but majority of the time it's going to happen to you once or twice,
Yeah.
or maybe you are that one that they'll pick on, but at the end of the day, you'll be so much more resilient than the other soldiers or Marines or whoever that are going there because you're so much used to that pressure at that point. And
Yeah.
that's the reason why they do it.
But it's not the worst. It really is not the worst. When you graduate, you're gonna wish you can do it again. To be honest, well, some people. I mean, some people they're like, "Oh, I never want to go through that shit again." But
Yeah.
in my opinion, nine times out of 10, everybody's like, oh, I'd do it again if I could. Because think about it like a really rigorous uh, a slumber party, or what do they call it? Like sleepover. Kind of really a rigorous sleepover. But instead of fun, it's the opposite.
Yeah.
But you'll find,
But then it's fun.
yeah, it's fun because it's different. You know?
Yeah.
And it's only fun because of the people that you'll be around. And they'll make it fun.
And you'll realize like your responsibilities there are so small. Your
Right.
your responsibility is really just to show up. As long as you're there,
That's
like you're
true.
really not going to get in trouble.
That's right.
Unless you do stupid shit. Then
Show
you
up
can
at the
get in
right
trouble.
time, the right place with the right uniform, and you're fine.
Yeah, exactly. But when you don't, that's when you get in trouble. But
Yeah.
dude, I had so the slumber party part. This is like really funny because it reminded me one time of a specific story when I was in basic training. So then at night when you're sleeping, you have this thing called fire guard, right? And it's basically like you'll have two soldiers watching the doors at all times, and that way, if the first sergeant, the company commander, whoever, even lieutenant colonel, brigade commander, whoever comes in, you're supposed to address them, and it's not to wake up the entire room when they're sleeping. It's just addressing them. And I had a first sergeant come in, and it was like 2 3 a.m. whatever. And he came over and he was like walking by my bed, and dude, I like jumped up out of my bed like I had it like there was a ghost, whatever. And the first sergeant was like yeah, like looked at me, like kind of like jumped. He's like, "What's wrong with him?" And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "What's wrong with you?" And I was like, I was dead asleep, and I just remember waking up for like a split second, and I was like, nothing. And I went back to sleep. And then I remember the first one, I'm like kind of like looking down and like just kind of seeing the peripherals. The first one was like,
The fuck's wrong with
fuck?
it?
Yeah, I just like kept walking. But that's like the funny part is the amount of surprises and things that you wouldn't even think are possible that happen that are just funny.
The funny encounters.
Yeah. But anyway, so basic training is basically show up, right place, right time, right uniform. You do some rucks, you do some land nav, you do some shooting. You do a lot of physical things.
Get familiar with the Soldier's Creed. If you're joining the Army, get familiar with the Soldier's Creed. And I think, honestly, get familiar with the creed of the pertaining branch you're going to be joining. Get familiar with the 24-hour time, right?
Yeah, military time, yeah. 13,
And then get
14,
familiar
15.
with your general orders if you're joining the military. I don't know if the other branches have similar. Probably
I'm pretty
they do.
sure
Probably
they do. Yeah.
But get familiar with those three, and then be prepared to show up at the right time, right place, right uniform, and you're going to be solid. Oh, and, be a little fit. Be ready for some cardio.
Yeah, but then, so after that, then you're gonna go to your AIT. AIT is basically a school that teaches you your MOS. So depending on what your MOS is, you're gonna be going for X amount of time. Each school is different on timing, and then each school is gonna be different for what you're gonna be learning, obviously. So I think mine was like 4 months. Like 16 weeks, I think.
Yeah, I think mine was also 16 weeks.
Yeah, so I mean that's all going to pertain to the specific job that you pick. But then and because even then you're still in a training environment. But when you get to your unit, that's all like your training environment, and that's the only time where it's like very stressful until you start going back into specific trainings, getting you ready to deploy or getting you ready for a certain X amount of things. Because other than that, then you go to your unit, and that's when it's like
your job. Like if you work at a McDonald's, you go, you do your job, you come back home.
yeah. Except the only difference is, and it really depends on your unit too. Because I've been in certain points where depending on the leadership. You don't do PT. As long as you're able to pass PT test, you won't do PT. But
that's true. Some do morning PT, some do afternoon PT. And PT, all it is just like scheduled time frames out of the day to do exercise. And it could be anything, weightlifting, body, cardio.
And unless you have like a super hua or you have this. Sometimes it's really annoying when you have those guys. Yeah. But some people enjoy it.
I was that guy.
Yeah, where it's just they always go in there with a plan for 2 hours and like PT's an hour and 30 minutes and you're like you got 30 minutes to go home, shower and change and get back to work, whatever. Sometimes it's annoying, but at the end of the day, it's kind of like the saying that you'll hear is you signed up for it. So
yeah, I mean on the same like spectrum, you'll also maybe have that guy where it's like, yo, like if you kill yourself on these few rounds, or if you run, these miles fast as hell, you can take the rest of the time and go home. I don't care. Like
Yeah.
I would always tell people I wasn't a great. I ran great. I didn't like running. I don't think I was a great runner, but I like my time. I value my time. So I was always running fast as hell because I was like, the faster I run, the faster I finish this shit, and I can chill.
Yeah, so that's your PT stage, and PT will kind of vary, but from when I was getting out, they were starting to get. But it's also like because my unit started getting a lot more strict, so it was right 06 to 7:30. They changed the time a little bit, and then so it depends on your unit. That's right, the environment that you're in, that your PT will be. But then at like typically 09 is your show time to 1700, which is
begin your
5.
day.
Yeah, you start at 9, and I think ours was like 11:30 was lunch.
Yeah,
and then to 1, which is 13. So then from 11:30 to 13, which I know we had a pretty long lunch. That was pretty legit. I don't know if everybody had that.
I think it's the same for us.
Okay.
I think it was the same. Yeah, 11:30.
Yeah, then 13 to 17, which is 1 to 5.
Yeah.
Would be that. And
I think combat MOSs though, I think they do like regular chow, or just like MREs, straight up MREs, which sucks. But
so I was in aviation, so we actually got BAS, which is like we got our food paid for. So, and then that's another thing that you'll learn. We won't really cover that too much because that's like finances and that goes super deep into depending on your job.
Yeah.
But you can get BAH, BAS, all these extra incentives for being in the military in the first place. But BAS is, we got it because we were aviation, and you're typically not going to be on the same duty hours as a normal unit that can go to the chow hall, or that they even get, like we don't really get supplied MREs unless we're going to the field or we're going somewhere. So we would have 11:30 to 1 to go out and get lunch because we got extra pay to do that. Some people won't do that. Some people will go to the chow hall and that's where y'all eat lunch, whatever. Come back 1 to 5, and then you're doing your job again.
Right. If you're in 13 series, that's not gonna be you.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing. And I always recommend aviation because aviation is. I wouldn't say it's necessarily the Air Force of the Army, but that's kind of the understanding between everybody is like it is the Air Force of the Army, because it still sucks.
The Air Force branched out of the Army.
Yeah, and I would always recommend people to go aviation because when you get out of the military, if you don't decide to do 20, you can do relatively any job starting at $100,000 because you can get your A&P. And then just go work on aircraft. You can be a helicopter pilot and then go fly helicopters, signal, all these like little things that rely in the aviation world.
And I want to point something out, right? So to a point I was talking about before about choosing a job that you potentially translate it to something that you want to do in the civilian world. For example, right? Like he was in aviation and now you're in training to become a pilot, right? So it's a good career to have. I was a radar operator, so like half nerdy, half combat-ish, right? So I tracked the rounds. I used certain technology to track those rounds. I had to learn how to mess with like computers and network and stuff like that. But now I'm a software engineer, so you can see how it helped. It helped to have those jobs in the careers we have now. I have other friends. I have plenty of friends. I know plenty of people who chose straight up combat roles, and they didn't want to go to school, and they're doing the hard labor jobs that a lot of people don't want to do because they just don't have the skills. And it's like it's the hard truth. And then depending on how old you are or how deep you are into the military, and honestly, depending on your mentality, because for me, it's like it's never too late. But a lot of those guys, when they're like late 20s or hitting about to hit 30s, they're just like, there's no point of going to get those skills or, like dabbling in the school area because I'm too old. So I'm just going to do this job that other companies partner with military and offer you like an opportunity to train. And they usually pay you a little less because in exchange they're giving you knowledge, but as you go they start paying you a little more. So those are just some things to think about, right, when you're transitioning out of the military, if you plan to only do maybe 4 years or whatnot.
All right, so to change the vibe up just a little bit, to get people to understand, um, kind of like the best thing about the military is the experiences that you go through, good and bad experiences. They're nothing like civilian experiences. I mean, I don't mean to be ignorant, but I just think that from my experience, I've had so much more fun, and in the bad times, you find the
Yeah.
fun in that, and it's kind of that's where I just wanted to see like if you had a story to share. That's just one of those stories that's either like super crazy because it's like you'll have these stories. Everyone will have these stories. You ask anyone in the military, they have these stories. And for me, like asking you like what is that story to you? That's like just one of them because
I'm like
I'm
laughing
sure
already.
there's so many.
Yeah, I'm like I have one. Like I have one that's like always stays in my head because it's funny. It's funny as hell. It's like random. It's stupid. It's like one of those things you're talking about. Like it sucks, but it's just like a funny thing that happened. And so I was in Afghanistan on a combat tour in 2018, and we were at this like I don't know this little like place out in Afghanistan. We're doing a mission. They call them EAPs, and I remember we were rationing our food because we couldn't get supplies. It was a hot zone, so the guys from like home base, the FOB would kind of send us every like 3-4 days. They come to the little place and drop off some food, some MREs and stuff like that, waters, whatever. And so we were told like, hey, like we're missing this run, ration your food because you gotta make that shit last another 3-4 days. And we're like, fuck, and I had already ran out of snacks and whatnot, and I had like crackers. I had one of the German MREs because we were some of the NATO guys, the Germans and Italians, and I traded like one of my MREs for the one of the German MREs, and theirs comes with crackers like salt crackers, and it's like a pack, maybe like it's a decent amount, maybe like this thick, but it was funny because I was in my cot, like the hunger was so bad to a point where like we were kind of taking food from each other, like if you were on shift or if you were patrolling or if you were in a watchtower or something, you'd come back and like, yo, where is my crackers? Like, so dudes would start doing that stuff and take their food with them. Yeah. Or like if you had a friend, you'd be like, bro, like watch my shit, like it was
I'll give you like 2 crackers if you watch.
yeah, if you watch my stuff. And so for me, right, I was off shift and I had like my crackers and I had them under my cot. And then I heard something. I heard like rustling, like the bags, like rustling in the bags. And I was like, yo, somebody's going through my shit. Somebody's trying to steal my shit. And so I throw my sleeping cover over. I'm like, yo. And then when I look, there's nothing. And I'm like, what the hell? All right. And then I put my sleeping cover back on. And then I'm like sleeping again. And then I start hearing the rustling again. I'm like, yo, what is that noise, bro? And so I take off my sleeping cover and I start looking around. And I'm like, bro, I don't see nothing. And then I hear it again as like I'm up. I'm like sitting on it. And I'm like, what is that noise? And I look under my car. There's this fat rat, right? Like this, like New York looking rat. And I got mad. Like I was like disgusted because like, ugh, right? It's a big ass rat. But I was mad because I was like, man, this bitch is eating my cookies, bro. It's eating my crackers. And I'm hungry. Like I'm rationing on this shit. And so I bitch slapped it, right? I bitch slapped it, like the little noise that like like rodents make. Yeah, it was like yeah. And then like it started running away. It was funny as hell, bro. And I was like, and then I just sat on the cot. I was tired as hell, like my freaking feet, right, just like on the concrete. And I was like, the fuck, bro? I just slapped a fucking rat from my fucking crackers, bro. Like
the realization of like where you're at and what you're doing.
What am I doing here in the middle of nowhere, Afghanistan? Fighting for my crackers against a rat, you know what I mean? A hostile enemy, bro. So it's like stuff like that. It's like funny, like you'll find like at the moment it'll suck, but it's funny, man. Like it's funny.
Like the thing is like you like first off, the hard part is you gotta put yourself in that position. That's your last, or not last food, but like that's your rationed food that you're already hungry, that you're saving, and this fucking rat just comes in and eats it, and you're like at that point, it's not funny. You're mad.
Yeah, I was mad. I was mad as
you're like so mad.
Bro.
Yeah, I can just see it, like because I think that like people would be like, oh, you just ate your fucking, and it's like,
yeah, like
have you ever been hungry?
Yeah, bro.
And fucking in the shit and
go 3 days without eating. And then like full meals, like breakfast, lunch, dinner, and then talk to me. there's probably gonna be people. Oh, I
done
fasted.
it.
I
Yeah.
fasted and I'm fine. Yeah, but on top of fucking walking everywhere, carrying your gear, pretty much like working out, like heavy working out every day.
Yeah,
You know,
and for an extended period of time.
but right, and then for those of you that are probably the audience that are, oh well, I've also worked out and fasted for 3-4 days. Well, try doing it in an uncomfortable situation out in the sun. Do it out in the sun, not in the AC with your music and you drinking water every like 15 minutes. Try doing it without drinking water, without the AC. Go outside and do it without that stuff. It sucks. It's a whole different it's a whole different mood. It's a whole different vibe.
Yeah.
But what about you, bro? What funny experience do you have?
I got one that's kind of on top of my head right now. And I had one earlier that I was thinking about when I asked you that question, and it's different, but I'm trying to think of which one it was. I'll tell you the first one, the one that I can think of right now. I know there's a funnier story that happened, but this one was funny because. So I'm sure you're familiar with NTC.
Mm-hmm.
So National Training Center or something like that.
Yeah.
It's in California in the desert, and basically your unit goes there to kind of get graded on if you can deploy or not. And it was me and one of my buddies, Frank's was his name, and so we're part of the night shift. The first day actually got it was too much of too bad of weather for us to fly out there, so we had to wait. So one section of our guys went, and then we stayed back because we were like the night crew, whatever, and it was too bad to fly at night. So then we wait till the next night, and we finally go in, and the first crew like didn't even set up anything because they were like, "Oh, we gotta wait for you."
Yeah.
Whatever BS, right? And so, anyways, while we come in, we land, and like at this point. We probably landed at like 6 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Maybe like 5 or 6 because you're still setting up and you're setting your tents up and all these kind of things. And there's this one point where I got super late. Like at this point we're up at like 1 a.m.
Damn.
And oh, dude. Yeah, and
no, you just reminded me of something even funnier, man. But go ahead.
Yeah, so and this is the thing. This is what will happen when you get two military guys, and you start talking about stories. Is you just keep thinking about other stories that are like true. They're so dumb, but they're so funny that like, you just want to.
I got some dumb shit coming for y'all.
So me and him, after we get certain X amount of tents set up, and we're kind of in our like little fob basically set up. That we start doing security. Yeah. Because at the beginning, it's kind of hard to explain it to y'all, but in the beginning, when you first set up, they don't really, you're not pulling security because you're just making sure everything's there. Like all the gear, inventory, all that stuff. Make sure everybody's accountable, whatever. So, but by the time we start doing
training,
training, and then it's like, okay, we all got to pull security now. Like the brigade commander says, all right, it's time to pull security. So randomly, they sent out a Humvee like 5 miles. Like this Humvee is just out in the middle of like there's a designated spot on the map for them to like hold, and that's like their position that they're holding and pulling security. So that way, if they come in, they'll radio in and be like, "Hey, we got enemy troops," or whatever the fuck. And they're like, "All right, who wants to go?" And it was me and my buddy Frank's, and it wasn't necessarily like who wants to go. It was more of like, "All right, we need somebody to go. Y'all two are here." And so me and Frank were like, all right, like, let's go, like, whatever. And, bro, they gave us a fucking compass. Like a compass that we just got trained on how to use. Like the one where you fucking like that. Yeah. And they're like, all right, just head to like a 230 or whatever the azimuth was or degree was. Like, all right. And they're like, go for about 2 hours. And we're like, what? Bro, this is at like 2 a.m. And we're like how long? Yeah. And they're like, yeah, I don't think it was like 2 hours. I think it was like maybe 45 minutes. And because I would say it's probably, I think it was like 2 to 3. I said 5, but I don't know the exact numbers. But it was far as fuck. It had to have been at least an hour. Yeah. And we're walking in a fucking random direction for an hour. And bro, like the entire time, it's pitch black. It's 1 a.m. And we're just walking. Like we don't even have NVGs, like nothing. We're just following the fucking compass.
Night vision goggles. He didn't have night
vision.
Bro,
it was the funniest fucking story ever. But it was so dope because you're in the middle of the desert. like no sound, no nothing, no, just stars, and it's just you and your boy, and you're just like walking. And I remember at this one point we just like looked at each other and we're like, bro. He said this to me. He's like, bro, this is the stories that fucking soldiers get lost and they die because you can't find them. And then we're like after that we were kind of like freaking out and shit like that. So it was just a funny story because it was a really, for me, it was a really good time.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you just fucking
Time, you're like,
good luck, bro. Like it was just like a good luck. You're just walking through the fucking desert, and then we ended up finding it. We ended up finding where we needed to go. But it was.
You would never find yourself in a situation like that outside of the army. You know what I mean? So that's why it's funny too. And like what you reminded me of, man, shit's funny as hell too. It's kind of almost the same. So we went to we were in JRTC, which is like the opposite of NTC, right? Well, not the opposite, but like the brother to it, right? One's in JRTC in Louisiana and NTC is in California. But like he said, they're just meant to kind of like certify you if your unit, right, is ready to deploy. But anyhow, we were it was like me and one of my homies, one of my close homies that I met in the military, and we were like doing fire guard shifts. And I remember they had showed us a shift before we went to sleep.
I just remembered that too, yeah.
Bro. And so I remember our shift was like at 1 a.m. or something like that. And so he woke me up. He's like, "You ready?" And I'm like, "Nah, bro, I'm tired still. We've been setting up all day, you know?" He's like, "Come on, let's go. We gotta go to the yard." And there's like a yard, maybe like half a mile. You have to walk to pull fire guard security because we had like radios and stuff, sensitive items in our vehicles. And so we started walking over there, and they had like our leaders, our section leader built us a little map like on pen and paper, and he was like, you're here, go here, then go here, then go here, then here's the yard. And so we were like trying to follow it, and immediately we went the wrong way, but we didn't know.
Shit.
Bro, we left the post, like we left the training center area, like we legitimately left out the gate. And it was funny though, because mind you, we have our M4s and everything in our gear, and we're walking out. And we're like, is it this way? I don't know. Let's just keep going. And we're walking. And you know, like the sticks that like come up and down at the gates and stuff. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like the sticks at the gate. When you're like going into a parking garage, or like into post, there's a stick that comes up or comes down. Like when you're coming into the gate, you know what I'm talking about?
Nah.
When they like check your ID.
Yeah.
The gate stick.
Yeah. Okay.
And so we're like passing the gate stick and like the little offices or whatever.
Yeah, like a checkpoint.
Yeah,
almost?
the checkpoints, but like it's the legitimate one to enter the main
base.
post, not like JRTC training environment, but like just the base, Louisiana, like Fort Polk. And so we're just like the dudes in there, they're just looking at us like, okay, like these guys are just leaving with their M4, you know, and we're like, "What's up, guys?" And like we're nonchalant because we didn't know, you know, where we were going. "What's up, guys?" Like, "What's up?" We just kept going and we just kept walking, bro. And we're following this map and we're like, "Man, are you sure?" Yeah. We just keep going. And we literally walked like this lonely ass road, right? Because usually the training environments are stashed somewhere out in like the woods.
Mm-hmm.
And we walked, or like the bases, and we walked like this lonely ass road for like maybe like legitimately.
Like bases are in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
And so whenever you leave the base, you're still on this like random road,
Middle of nowhere.
back road. Yeah.
And so we were walking, bro, for like 45 minutes, right, with our M4s. And then we were like, let's turn left, because I think it's left. And we're like pulling out this little map, like you said, like still pretty dark out there. We're like, okay, yeah, it looks like we gotta turn left. We turn left, and we start walking, and then after like 30 minutes of walking, we see houses, like legitimate houses, and we're like, "Huh, what the fuck? Wonder who lives out here." Like, oh, maybe these are like training houses or something. And then we see people, bro. Like, hold on, like, nah, I think we're in the wrong place. And we literally keep walking like another like 35-40 minutes, and we see a McDonald's, and we're both like, nah, we definitely. Well, we didn't see the McDonald's, but we saw the sign.
Yeah.
And it was at least like maybe, I don't know, like within 5 minutes walking distance. And we're like, oh yeah, bro, we fucked up. And like we're looking at the time, and it's already like 1:30, so we're 30 minutes into our shift. And so we're like, damn, they're probably looking for us. And then we like take another left, and we kept walking. And we ended up literally, we walked so much that we made it to the next fucking gate, and we literally on the opposite side. Then we came in, and the guys were like telling us like, let's see your IDs, and we were like, huh? Like us thinking we're still like it was all part of it. And we're like, what are you talking about? He's like, we need to validate your IDs. Like, we need to check your IDs.
Oh.
And then we're like, oh, our CACs? And like, yeah, you got your CACs. Let's see your CACs. And I was like, bro, why are you taking your job so serious? Like, we're on, we're all training. I get it, bro. But like, obviously, I'm wearing a fucking uniform, and like, I got my M4 with me. And he's like, show me your CAC. I'm not letting you in. All right. And I was like, we're like, me and him were like, what the fuck? Right. And then it hit us like, oh, not like, nah, we're actually outside of post, going into post right now, bro. And that because they kind of clarified it too. Like, bro, if you're trying to get on post, you gotta show us your CAC. You could be anybody, even if you were like, I don't know what you guys were doing, patrolling or whatever, but you could be anybody. And we're like, oh, okay. And so we showed them our CACs, and then they let us in. And luckily, we were like close to the yard, maybe like half a mile. And we're like, do you guys know where like the training yard is? And they're like, yeah, it's like half a mile. Just like go down this road and go straight and take a left. And when we like got past the checkpoint, we're like, bro, we legit just fucking left post.
That's wild.
And then it came back in the post, and it was funny because by the time we got to like our or like the yard, or one of our NCOs was waiting there because I guess like the guys snitched on us. They're like, what the fuck were you guys? This is not a step. I was like, sorry, you're not gonna believe this. But we fucking left post thanks to your fucking stupid ass little map that you and he wasn't even mad. He just started laughing. And he, like a fucking like a dumbass. It was like a dumbass. He was like, ah! Right? And I was like, we were like, it's not funny. Like, we've been fucking walking for like 2 hours, like with our fucking gear in the middle of nowhere. And he like thought it was so funny. He's like, bro, like, he's like, man, like it's cool if one of y'all sleeps and one of y'all like, take like 30 minutes each, right? They're like, just cover down for the next people. He's like, that shit's funny as hell. And I was just like, yeah, bro. I was like, yo, I can't believe we fucking left post and came back on, bro. Like, because somebody, has the wrong fucking directions. Because like the bad thing is like where we were sleeping, the gate was literally like right behind, and you could easily mistaken it for like part of the training stuff, because all the other training stuff was around, like the fake connexes, villages, and fake training simulation stuff. So we were like, oh, it's like a fake checkpoint. Like, we just kept walking too.
And now that's why in Fort Polk they have, this is not a fake training.
For real, this is not a fake training environment.
Yeah.
But yeah, we just wanted to share some experiences with you guys. We want to show you some pros and cons. I mean, there's a lot, like even to cap it off, the financial stuff. If you play your cards right, it's really solid, right? Like the benefits of buying a home where it's like 0 down payment, benefits of school. I know I just changed the topic like straight up, but it's important. Like school, they'll pay for your school up to 4 years of school. One thing to know on the school stuff is they'll either pay your associates or they pay your bachelor's, but they don't tell you that. Did you know that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, but anyways, yeah, it's like something to know. Another thing is the discounts. Everybody knows about the military discounts. Also, if you have a wife, has to be your wife, can't be your girlfriend or your lover. There's something called MyCAA, which is like a program, right, that gives like 10K, 5K towards your spouse's degree. So that's also like a good thing to have. And there's so many other companies that offer like partner with military stuff, like Salesforce, which is like a cloud technology if you want to be a developer or something in that. I'm sure maybe there's some pilot stuff. I know there's like some medical companies that partner to
the bad thing about me is I don't do enough research on this stuff. I could go into detail about how I'm doing my pilot license certificates and stuff like that, but really the VA won't pay for your private license because that's a recreational kind of thing, but then they will pay for commercial and instrument rating, and then your CFI and CFII, but it's all along a certain time frame that they'll allot you money, and it's actually kind of BS because, real quick, flight training is probably about $100,000.
Yeah.
And if you do it outside of a full-time college, they only fund you, I think, about $45,000 out of the $100,000 that it cost. Even though your tuition is like triple that if you went to college, they still only, and it's just kind of an annoyance thing that the VA, you'll learn that too. You'll learn that everything that you try to do with paperwork is super annoying, but
That's true.
At the end of the day, there's a way to get it. It's how bad do you want it? And, I always tell everybody is, if it was easy, everybody would do it. So
yeah, it's worth it though. I think it's worth it. It's the basic rules of life, right? You got to pay to play. In layman's terms, you got to sacrifice some stuff, man, to get something out of life. And I think the military is going to make your life a little more purposeful.
Yeah, I think the best thing you could do is not talk about it. And if it's something you're actually considering, if you talk to really anybody, it's the pros always outweigh the cons.
Yeah.
Even people that have bad experiences, it's always the pros outweigh them, except for it's the person that decides if you're willing to take that negative energy that you got in the military, because there's going to be no negative energy, but that's just life in the first place. And you decide if you're going to carry out that negativity or if you're going to take those experiences and those knowledge and that change and everything like that and then progress your life with that. But I was going to say something, but I forgot.
But that is...
Oh, real quick. I do want to say, like, that's kind of the more knowledge-based information of what it takes to join, little bit of side notes of what you're going to experience and things like that. If y'all enjoyed this video and this talk and you want to see more insight in more of our stories and listen to more of what we have to offer, good, bad, ugly, experiences specifically, just let us know, and maybe that's something that we can cover another time.
Yeah, definitely what he said. If you want us to go more in depth, like even our jobs, so you can get an insight of maybe I'll pick a job that they did. We can do that too. So just drop anything in the comments, let us know, and we'll see y'all in the next episode. Peace.